All right, gentlemen, welcome to the Empty Crypt. Guys, it has been a long time coming. I've been trying to get you guys on forever, but I wanted to get everything out the way so you guys can have, free thoughts, free mind, all that good stuff. But joining us tonight on the Empty Crypt, we have executive producer Jeremy and director and writer Michael Pickle. Gentlemen, if you don't mind, for those who don't know exactly who you are, just give us a little bit of details about yourself and what your involvement is along with The Dead Place.
You want to start, Jeremy?
I'm Jeremy Dickson, executive producer and actor. I got involved in The Dead Place. I found it through the Indiegogo campaign because I follow David Howard Thornton, and I believe I saw it on, I think he posted it. And I wanted to help him because I'm a big fan of his. So I initially just bought the $99 perk just to help out and get special thanks in the end credits. After that, I looked more into it and decided that I would buy the ghost perk so I could actually be in the movie. And then later on, they added the perk to be killed by David Howard Thornton, and I couldn't pass that deal up. So I bought that one. And then going forward into that, I got to meet Michael a little bit and talk to him, and found out what the executive producer perk was all about, and decided that it was the right time to try to excel my career and become an executive producer on a movie that has a pretty big name star in it that I'm a big fan of. So I ended up buying the first perk for executive producer, and after a few more talks with Michael, knowing that he needed more money, I decided to buy a second perk. And then as it got closer to the end, we still needed some more funds to really make this movie great. It was already going to be great, but we just needed that little extra push to make it super great. And so I decided to buy the third executive producer perk. And I put all my faith in Michael and myself and David. So I still feel strongly about my decision. I think we made a masterpiece here, and it's going to do well.
All right. And Mr. Pickle.
I'm Michael Pickle. I am a horror filmmaker. I've been a horror filmmaker since about 2008. I'm a former musician. I was the frontman for a metal band for about 8 years before I got into horror filmmaking. And I'm the writer-director of The Dead Place. And it's about 15 years in the making altogether since I wrote it. I wrote it way back in the day, around 2007, 2008. And then I knew it had a grand scope. All three films in the trilogy were in that first script. So it was a very long script. It was about 160 pages. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to direct it as a beginner. So I started learning the business, reading everything I could. I started doing short films, music videos, TV shows, started directing my own stuff. I wanted to learn, I wanted to become a scholar in the horror genre, and I wanted to learn as much as possible about the horror genre, because I early on, when I decided to become a filmmaker, I wanted to choose a genre that I could master, something that I could study and not just to copy other people's style, but to inform my own style. I wanted to know so much about it that I knew the history of it. So I started a podcast. I had a horror variety show where I played, like me and a fellow producer, James Rivera, created the Ghostman and Rivera horror show podcast. And on the show, we used to do little skits and stuff. So after that, we got one of our skits that we did on the show got into Joe Bob Briggs' first annual Mutant Fest, the drive-in movie festival. So after that, I started seeing the potential. I'm like, all right, 15 years of learning. I've been on a bunch of other people's projects, done a few of my own. I had the successful TV show that I never saw a dime for, so I was really depressed about that. So I'm like, I've learned a lot. I've been in this business for a while. I've done a lot of things. Joe Bob believed in me, so I figured this is the time to pull the trigger and do the Dead Place, and it has been a dream ever since. Thanks to people like Jeremy and like you, Montavious, that came in and believed in the project and made it what it is. And I'm so proud of what we have so far.
So before we just jump into the Dead Place, which we're going to talk much about, just give me some backstory with you guys. So where did your love from horror come from? Like, what age were you like, you know what, this is awesome, this is what I want to do? And this is a question for both you guys.
I can go first. The first horror movie I ever saw, I was 8 years old, and it was Nightmare on Elm Street, and it scared me to death. And I don't think I slept with my bedroom light off again until I was about 14. But then I kind of became to love Freddy and embrace him, and got into other horror movies like Pet Sematary, The Shining. Those all kind of drew me in. Nightmare on Elm Street was my favorite. I've always been fascinated by dreams and nightmares, and that whole series is great for that. So that originally brought me into the horror genre. And when I first saw Terrifier, when that came out, it blew my mind. I'd never seen a movie like that. It was so well done. Such a great story, such great acting. It just drew me in even more to the horror genre. And at that point, I had already been a scare actor at a local haunt for many years. So I've just kind of been living the horror genre through movies and acting at the local haunt, which raises money for charity. And when I saw Terrifier, it just so happened I was going to Crypticon that year. And David Howard Thornton was one of the guests, and he wasn't really well known then, so he didn't have a lot of people at his table. And I ended up just talking to him a lot the whole weekend, and became friends, Facebook friends with him. And we've chatted quite a bit over the years. And so when this opportunity came up to be in a movie with him, I had to do it, and I jumped on it. And so my goal is to be an actor in a horror film and be the lead slasher, like in Art the Clown or Jason Voorhees. So this, I believe, is a big step towards getting my name out there, getting my name known, getting people to know that that's what my goal is, and that I've been doing it for 16 years at a local haunt. Phil Falcone was a big inspiration of why I became an executive producer as well. I just felt good about this project and talking to Michael, and it worked out well for him, and I hope it works well for all of us involved in the Dead Place, and I truly believe it will. So that's kind of how I got to the point where I'm at right now.
Nice. Okay. And Mr. Pickles, where did your love from horror originate?
Well, with me, I've always just been a lover of movies. I even loved romantic comedies, and pretty much anything that entertained me, I loved it. And I always had a lot of fun with the horror genre, but I was always a fearless little kid. I always marched toward danger. I was never scared of anything, never scared of any movie. I would watch The Exorcist, Nightmare on Elm Street, since I was a little kid, and it wouldn't scare me at all. I was just fascinated by it. And then I would read like horror comic books, and I've always been a writer since I was a little kid. Since I could write, I've always written little stories and poems and stuff. And my art has always leaned toward the dark side of things. Like even if it's a drama or a comedy, it leans toward the dark side. My taste, that's where my tastes go, especially when I create art. And then when I got older, I wanted to be a screenwriter and a singer, and I became a singer in the metal band. And you know how metal kind of goes hand in hand with horror.
Yep.
And I used to put a compilation of horror film scenes together, and I would look at our set of music, and I would see the ebbs and flows in the music, and I would try to match the images with our set. So I used to do that, and then in 99 I watched the Blair Witch Project in the theater, and it scared the shit out of me. The first time in my life, I was 27 years old, I think it was. and it scared the shit out of me. I was scared of the dark for a while. I couldn't go into a dark room without thinking that witch was in there or something. And I was in my late 20s, you know. And then after that, it just opened the floodgates, and I've been scared by tons of movies since then. So it really opened up my imagination. But then when I didn't develop this deep love for horror until I actually dove in and started creating it. Once I started creating it and then started diving into the history of horror, going all the way back to Nosferatu and Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, it's just a rich cinematic history in horror. And the more I learn about it, the more I create it, the more I love it. And then now I don't see myself doing any other genre now.
Nice. No, that's beautiful. And I like how you guys talk about, you know, kind of like your childhood, how you were fearless, and Jeremy, you know, went to go see Nightmare on Elm, and like he couldn't sleep. Funny story. I think what actually got me into the horror genre was Tales from the Hood. You know, being from the South, being like a little black kid, you know, we wasn't really allowed to watch, you know, horror movies, or it was seen as demonic. But I used to sneak over to the friend's house and watch these movies. And I remember watching Tales from the Hood, and I was petrified. But it also, you know, was intrigued the fact that so you could feel so many emotions. I feel like you can feel every emotion that there is to feel watching a horror movie. You know, you can feel compassion, you can feel love, you can feel, you know, you got the comedy aspect. So I think horror for me has been my safe space in a sense, where like, you know, my childhood wasn't the best, but I could escape mentally watching horror. So that's why, you know, I just love it and I embrace it so much. But speaking about The Dead Place though, how did this all-star cast come to play? Well, actually, before we jump into that, how did The Dead Place even come into fruition? Like, walk us through that, Michael.
Like the original script, the original idea?
Yes, sir. The original idea.
Yeah. At the time, I had no aspirations to be, you know, in 2007, 2008. I had no aspirations to actually be a director. And before I became a singer, I'd wanted to be a screenwriter. But once I jumped into music, it was all about the music and all about playing shows and everything. So then me and my friend decided to visit this haunted asylum in Downey, California. It's called Rancho Los Amigos. And they also call it the farm, where it used to be a little self-contained, like they had their own gardens there and everything. So all the patients would live there. They would have livestock and everything right there. So it has a sordid history of patients dying there and being mistreated and everything. So it was always like a local legend. So me and my friend decided to go in there and check it out. And we went into the auditorium area, and we found this little dark, dank little basement. It was, and you could tell by the way it smelled down there that it had been closed for a while, and it was kind of sealed up. There was no windows or anything, and there was just this little concrete room with a bunch of pipes running through it. So we went to climb down the stairs, and there was this vicious growling coming from the bottom in the darkness. You could see it on YouTube. I could post a link to the video on YouTube that I talk about it on the Indiegogo page with the origin story of The Dead Place. But so that scared the crap out of us. And then we got home and watched the video, and there's moaning in there that wasn't there when we were there. There was orbs flying around and flying into my head. And it was all kinds of things that we didn't see. We thought we saw somebody's feet in one of the old beat up bathroom stalls. And then I got like this heavy black cloud over my head. Like I felt this dread, like this heavy dread, like something bad was going to happen. Like I was going to die, or somebody that I loved was going to die, and I couldn't shake it. So then I came home that night, and my daughter was sleeping in the bed with my wife. So I went to sleep in her bed. It was the bottom of a bunk bed. And I was just there in bed. And then I woke up the next morning, and there was voices all around my bed. And I was like, what? Am I having delusions? And I made sure I was wide awake. And then I thought maybe it was just like a dream, like I was still in a dream state or something. So I tried to close my eyes. And when I closed my eyes, I could see the people sitting all around the bed, like it was a conference table, and I was laying on top of it. So it was some people that were alive in my life and some people that were dead, and they were all talking about how I should be committed to an asylum. So I was trying to like talk over these voices and get them to stop. And then my wife hears the commotion and she comes in there. She said, "What's going on?" And she sat on the bed and I couldn't hear her talking over the voices. The voices were talking louder than her. So I closed my eyes and I rubbed my eyes and I tried to get out of my mind, and these demons started jumping in my face. So every time I closed my eyes, a demon would jump in my face. So I was just sitting there with my eyes wide open, trying to get it all to stop. And then my wife didn't know what to do. So she left the room. And when she left the room, I tried to close my eyes again. When I opened them, they were there. The demons were there on the bed with me, like flesh and blood. I could feel their hot breath in my face, like snarling at me. They were all dripping with this slime all over them. It just seemed like the most frightening image I could conjure in my brain was being showed to me right in front of me. But at the time, I felt like it was physical demons that were about to devour me. So my wife comes in with the Bible. That's it. She didn't know anything else to do. So she walks in with the Bible, the voices stop, the demons are gone, and nothing like that has happened since then. So it just put this seed of an idea in my mind, and I couldn't get out of my head. So I just stayed up day and night. I wasn't a screenwriter. I had aspirations to be a screenwriter, but I was just a writer of stories. I hadn't really tried an actual script before. I just loved to write stories. So I just sat up day and night. Just this story just poured out of me. So ever since then, the rest is history.
See, I've heard you tell the story, but for the people who haven't heard it, that's intense. Like I can't imagine, being awake and you having this demonic entities around you. So I mean, what were the emotions that you were feeling at that time? Like, was it like you thought that you were gonna, be doomed, or like what was just going through your head?
Looking back on it, it felt manipulative. It felt like I was being manipulated, like I was being shown things that weren't there. It was just something, or maybe it was my own mind just projecting these images in front of my eyes that are just frightening. So at the time, I felt like it was coming from inside of me. Like I was going crazy, like the people were saying, and like the voices were saying around my bed. I thought I was just going insane. Mm-hmm. And then looking back on it, the fact that it started and it was so intense and it was so in my face, and then when the Bible came into the picture, it just stopped. And I'm like, if that was some kind of psychotic delusion, why didn't it continue? Why hasn't it happened since? Why was it just that one isolated incident? And why was it so real to me? It was devastating. Like at first I couldn't speak about it. I was too scared. I love to go into haunted places and stuff. I refused to go into any haunted places for a while after that. I just thought that I played around with it too much and I got bit,
For sure. And I mean, Jeremy, so like you hearing that story before, man, like what do you think about that? Like where does your mind go when you think about, director and writer Michael Pickle having this intense situation?
Well, it's very intriguing to me. As I said, I'm very excited about nightmares and premonitions and things of that sort. So for him to have that and then to write the script off of it and bring us all in, it seems like it was a bad thing, but a good thing at the same time. So I'm kind of glad it happened to him.
For sure. Now, have you had anything like that, Jeremy, happen to you where like you had just a vivid, intense?
I have nightmares a lot, like daily, almost every night. But I did have a ghost encounter in my house several times, and it was the same ghost. And I never told anyone about it. But a few years later, my daughter and her mother were living in my house while I was off to college. And I called home to talk to my daughter one day, and her mom's like, yeah, something strange happened. Taylor was down in her bedroom and she was giggling and talking. And I went down there and asked her who she was talking to. And she said, oh, this little boy, he's my friend. And that's the ghost that I had seen several times, is just this little boy standing in the hallway. And as soon as I realized I was seeing him, he would always disappear. But I was never like scared of it. But I just saw it like over a dozen times, and then they say kids are more in tune to that. So for her to see the same thing without me saying anything about it kind of reaffirmed that I wasn't crazy. I really did see what I saw.
Oh man, that's still intense too. Yeah, I haven't seen anything like that before, but I mean, I don't know, man. That's pretty intense too. And joining us, we also have Coach from the Dead Place, Thomas. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, guys?
All right. So just jumping back into the Dead Place, gentlemen. So can you guys tell us, how did this all-star cast get assembled? Starting from, you got David Howard Thornton, you got Bill Oberst Jr., you got Idris, you got Lexi, you have, I mean, there's so many people that's involved in this. So walk us through, how did the cast get united?
Well, it started with the actors that I'd worked with over the years. I kind of, as I gone through, as you go through a career like this, you kind of accumulate those people that you love to work with and the people that you know are going to bring their A game every time. So then I already knew I was going to have Susie Block, Elliot, Nick Fuhrer, who plays the main bully on here. I knew I was going to have them because that's the strongest actors I've ever worked with. Mm-hmm. So then I started thinking about who the rest of the cast was going to be. And we interviewed David Howard Thornton on my podcast. And it was before we'd really gotten any numbers up. So I didn't even think we'd be able to get him. But David is nice. He's cool like that. He goes on small podcasts. He goes on big podcasts. He doesn't discriminate. So he came on ours and he kind of gave our podcast a little bit of a boost. So while I was talking to him on the podcast, he talked about how he had this theater background. And so then it made me start thinking, like, what if he was the new kid? And he was a little older than I had it pictured for the character. And but he has this youthful way about him where I knew that if I put him in the movie, I seen some of his theater stuff, and I knew this guy would just embrace it. I could tell that he was a true talent and that he had so much more in him than just the silent killer Art the Clown. So then I contacted him, and he said, well, the premise sounds cool and everything. You should talk to my agent. And I started sending messages to his agent, and nothing. So I started feeding a little bit of the script to David, and he latched onto the writing right away. He said, ooh, I love this writing. He said, let me talk to my agent and tell her to get back to you. So still, that's why the campaign was actually postponed a few months, because we were supposed to start the campaign in August of 2022. But I didn't actually I wasn't able to get through to his agent until, months after. So we ended up doing it in October. And that's when it just so happened to coincide with the release of Terrifier 2. And I just knew Terrifier 2 was going to be huge. But after we got him on board, all the others just came into place, where everybody on the team kind of sent out casting notices. And we've seen hundreds of people for all these different parts. And we would just flip through them. We get discouraged. We didn't, we couldn't get the right people. And all of a sudden that special person would just pop up that just something special about them. So it all kind of fell into place where I wanted my dream cast, not necessarily names, not necessarily big names. I already got my big name with David Howard Thornton. I just wanted strong acting and people that felt like those characters. Because when I cast a movie, I don't cast like character actors who can play a bunch of different roles. I try to cast people who remind me of that character in my head. So it's not much of a stretch for them to be that character. So then when I got Idris, that's when I knew. Because if I would have just got David, I probably wouldn't have went ahead with it, because it was very risky to bring someone like David onto a low budget production like this one, especially when we didn't have the money yet.
So, and with that as well, like, I know you talked about how David has like this amazing, theater background. So what was it exactly that you saw? Just like, yeah, you know what, this is him? Because I'm pretty sure, did you have other auditions for the new kid at the time?
No, we didn't even audition anybody because it came down between him and the person who I originally wanted to cast as a new kid. I don't know if you've seen This Boy's Life. It's Leonardo DiCaprio's first movie with Robert De Niro. Well,
Okay.
I was in that
Leo,
movie.
oh, you were? Well, you know the guy that played Arthur Gale, the gay kid that befriended Leo? That's who I wanted to cast as a new kid because there's this part where Leo and his friends are kind of picking on Arthur Gale, and he just all smiles and he doesn't let anything affect him. And then Leonardo called him just the wrong word. He called him a really bad word for gay people. So his face changed and he became scary and he attacked Leonardo DiCaprio and beat the shit out of him. So that just gave me that idea of this person runs around smiling all the time, nothing affects him, and then when he's pissed off, he gets scary. So that's where that came from. So I went to my producers and I was like, I already talked to the guy from This Boy's Life, and he was into the story and he wanted to do it. So I went to the producers. I was like, well, I started thinking about David Howard Thornton possibly being in a new kid role, but I also had this guy that I wanted him to be the new kid from the beginning. So I said, which one should I pick? And all of them unanimously said, David Howard Thornton, of course. So we went with him, and the rest is history.
That's badass.
Rightfully so. I mean, and David has that special quality about him where, like, the thing I like about Arthur Clown is the fact that he doesn't have to say much to get his point across, and it kind of reminds me of the Freddy-esque a little bit. You know how Freddy is a big character within the horror industry. He's like over the top, and Arthur Clown is the same way, but just silent. So, and actually seeing David, behind the scenes, watching him act and embody the new kid was so bone chilling to know that he's a nice guy. Like, I think everybody thinks he's a nice guy, but the guy can turn on that creepy in an instant, and he just delivered it. I mean,
he's so creepy.
Yeah, I don't think you guys had to stop and direct him one time. Well, when we were there, I don't think you guys had to stop and direct him at all.
No, because I had a few exchanges with him about the character. I sent him this big long paragraph. Like, we were trying to figure out how the new kid was going to sound, like how the voice was going to be. And I wrote him this big long paragraph. I said, I don't really want to tell you how to portray him. I just want to tell you his background and who he is. And then whatever you come up with based on what I tell you, then that's who the new kid is. So that's when he brought this kind of New York accent into it. And I told him, I said, he's got this swagger. It's unearned swagger. He has no reason to be this cocky, but he is. Just nothing affects him. So he just embraced it. And he told me that he always thinks of his characters as an animal. So he thinks of like Art the Clown as a vulture. So he said with the new kid, he thought of the new kid as a jackal. And that's awesome. Informed his performance. If you keep that in your mind, that he plays a jackal and he has that little hunch that he does and this little bit of an attitude, you can see what he's putting into that performance. It's so cool. It's so great to watch.
Yeah, that was really amazing. But also, watching Lexi and Idris, for the folks out there who don't know, they were the co-stars of this as well, of The Dead Place. Now, how did you come to get in contact with them? Because, I mean, they really brought their A game 110%. Like, you actually felt like they were in high school, like this is actually happening right here in front of you. So how did you get them on board?
Well, with Idris, as you can imagine, that was the most entries that we got for any part was for Isaac. So we would just go through audition after audition, and we had a group of like 5 guys. I'm like, they could probably pull it off. I'll have to direct them. Let's see how this goes. And then when Idris came, it was one of his agents kind of seen the notice, and he contacted me. So we had him audition, and when he, like, James and I, like, the agent even asked us how we choose the actors and how we determine who gets the part, and it's purely instinct. Like James and I would watch the auditions, and the way we sit, I kind of sit in front of the screen and he's kind of right behind me. So then if I'm watching something and it sparks my imagination and I'm like, oh, that's it, and I turn around to him and we make this eye contact, we just know. That's when we knew. So he's the one where he was on screen and we just looked at each other. Wow, is this kid real? How could he be this good and this young? He was only 17 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So how could he be this good, and how could he understand the character so well and do this good? But he was just a natural. And then with Lexi, we actually had another Lexi that we had already cast. Her name was Lexi Dolly, and she had been a stunt woman for years, and she was just trying to break into acting roles. So this was perfect for her. So at the last minute, like 2 weeks before the production, she contacts us and says that she's going through some kind of court case. Somebody had been harassing her and her family. It was some horrible situation. So she had to bow out. It was very disappointing. I didn't think I was going to be able to find another Katharine. But then I had seen Lexi through Facebook, and she had sent me a friend request. So I'd known about her, and I knew about her mom, Heather. So I always seen her picture and I thought, oh, she looks like a great Katharine. I love her eyes. Her eyes are really striking, but she's almost too pretty to play Katharine. And then when we lost Lexi, I kind of gravitated towards her. I was like, maybe we should try Lexi just to see how she does, just to see if she can have that edge that Katharine has. And then I went to contact her, and before I could contact her, her mom contacted me, asking if she could audition. So it just seemed like it was meant to be. And then she auditioned, and then it was down between her and another girl. So we couldn't decide. James wanted the other girl, and I wanted Lexi. So I was like, well, let's put them in a Zoom meeting with Idris and see how they click. And the other girl went. She was good actress and everything, but you could tell she was acting. And then Lexi came on, and she was just very conversational with Idris, and her and Idris had this chemistry right away where they seemed very natural. So that's as soon as everyone's seen her act with Idris, James was like, okay, you're right, Lexi's the one. And she's only 15. I couldn't believe it. I actually thought she was older than Idris. And then her mom told me she was 15. I'm like, oh wow.
I mean, and that's definitely two people that have a definite bright future, ahead of them. I mean, phenomenal. I mean, so let's talk about who else we got. Bill Obrist Jr. Now, how was that bringing on, one of the most sinister guys in the indie horror film? Like, how was that?
Well, Bill had actually been a fan of mine for a few years. He had seen a couple of my shorts, and I became familiar with him through being a journalist. I would cover film festivals and stuff. So I done 2 really good interviews with him, really in-depth interviews. It was a really fascinating guy, fascinating and intelligent person, and very talented. So when I started my horror variety show, I thought, I want like an evil Rod Serling type of character to come on and introduce the show and tell people if they don't watch the show, I know where you live. I'm gonna come to your house and kill you if you don't watch this show. So I wanted that to be Bill. So I showed Bill the opening monologue, and he loved it. So he talked to his agent, and then he said, my agent wants to talk to you. I was like, okay. So I talked to his agent, and it was one of the most humiliating conversations in my career, because the show had no budget. We were just flying by the seat of our pants, and we were on a network where we're supposed to be able to make some money on the network. So I asked him if Bill could work for deferred pay, meaning if he could come be the host of the show, and then when the money started coming in, we would pay him. And he just humiliated me with how dare I ask this professional actor to do that. He doesn't work for free. So I'm like, okay, I remained friends with Bill over the years. And then when this came up, I needed someone special in this role, because actually the entity is the main villain, not the new kid. The entity kind of plays the new kid. He kind of recruits the new kid as his minion.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't just, like, one of the producers even suggested, oh, why pay for that? Why pay for that role? So one of us could just do it. And no, one of us can't do this role. It has to be someone who brings that creepiness, and it just feels like undeniable, like that voice is going to get under your skin. So I didn't think I could get Bill. And then his agent contacted me and said, Bill got wind of your project. He's a big fan of yours. He's wanted to work with you for years. So it said he would like to see if there's a role in it for him. I'm like, what? I couldn't even imagine I was going to get Bill, because that was the one where the agent humiliated me a few years ago. There's no way I can get someone of this caliber. I already have David Howard Thornton. It's almost too good to be true that I could get Bill Oberst Jr. too. But Bill, I guess Bill was such a huge fan of mine that he really wanted to do it, and they gave me a price that was reasonable, and he's in it.
You know, it felt like from the beginning, like this was something special, you know, especially with, you know, the cast that you guys assembled, and then, you know, you bringing on, you know, your different executive producers, and I mean, everybody from sound to lighting to everything just felt special. And so tell us, like, how important is the chemistry have to be on set to make something as special as The Dead Place?
Well, I've been on a lot of different types of sets. I've done stuff for other people and done stuff on my own. And this is by far the most intense bond I've ever had with a cast and crew. It just kind of, it almost happened like a fluke. It took me by surprise. I was frankly overwhelmed by it. Like, I couldn't believe at the amount of support that rallied behind this thing. And I'm like, I must have done something right along the way, because I decided early in this campaign, I'm like, this is the project of my life. I've worked toward this project for 15 years. So if I want to get this project out there, I need to show people who I really am. So I was out there, you know, hiking in the hills and singing and posting it for people to see. I would pour my heart out into different posts. I would pour my heart out on Sundays with Sid, and we would really be frank and honest about everything and what we were going through and everything. And people just seemed to connect with it. And then when I walked on set that first day, I was like, my God, it's like everyone knows each other already, and everyone loves each other. And there's so many, I think there's lifelong friendships were made on this set. I love that.
For sure. I think ever since, you know, a lot of us got involved with The Dead Place, I mean, Mr. Jeeper Wildcat right there, Thomas, I mean, me and him became great pals. I mean, there's so many people that I still talk to now that, you know, we met through The Dead Place in the beginning, you know, back in September. So, I mean, this was my first ever project I've ever been a part of, but this felt special. Like, it didn't feel like, you know, like I don't know what it's supposed and what it's not supposed to feel like. It just felt different, if that makes sense. It just felt like, you know, I'm with friends and family and everybody can be themselves. And I feel like everybody had a great time, and you guys did an amazing job making everybody feel welcomed. I mean, from even her being involved, like, I didn't know she was going to be so down to earth, especially with her huge resume, you know, that she has. Like, she was even amazing. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, Coach, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, for sure. You're talking about like friendships and stuff like that. I think, like, you know, we use the term destiny, and just the way everything kind of fell in place for Michael. From my conversations, like Michael mentioned, you know, he replaced the original Lexi with the new Lexi. you know, it seemed like the stunt coordinator was a last second ad for Michael. He was freaking out about that. And he had wonderful chemistry with him and, you know, very happy with the job he performed. It just seemed like from every little step that there was a little bit of friction, something kind of amazing came out. And the one thing I will say is, and I don't usually volunteer like my gut instincts a lot. I do that when I play poker and I work. But my gut instinct says one of these young adults that Michael casted is going to take off. And it's probably going to be from this movie or the next, you know, wherever Michael goes with the Dead Place. So I just want to say that, like, there's something that's, to me, says like there could be a future star in this cast. And I'm not talking about David, you know, I'm talking about one of these younger people.
Well, I love
what do you
that
think,
these,
Michael?
I love that these three people are here today, Montavious, Jeremy, and Thomas, because you three especially have meant so much to this project. The only ones that came on earlier than you, besides, you know, the people in my circle, was Tasha Lee Mott. She had, before I even decided to do the Dead Place, she had contacted me and she had seen one of my shorts and she was like, I have a feeling about you. I think this is your time and I want to be on your next project. I don't care what it is. I want to be on your next project. And then Thomas came along and he started saying the same type of things. He started telling me, this is your moment. And Jeremy started coming on board and he started putting so much of himself and his hard-earned money into it. And he started telling me that this is my time and he believed in me. And you, Montavious, you've been supporting me every step of the way, like doing everything you can to get this out there. And I just really appreciate all three of you and everything that you've done for this project and everything you've done for me to keep me afloat and keep me, because I'm prone to depression. I'm prone to diving into depression and feeling the imposter syndrome and feeling like I don't deserve all this love. And that just all the dedication that came from you and the support and just the very real emotion that came from you and telling me how much you believed in me made me believe in myself. And I want to thank all three of you for that.
Oh, yes, sir. Definitely. No need to thank us. We're just here to make, you know, like I said, you've been, you know, wanting this to happen for 15 years. And, you know, we played a small role in that. So, I mean, I'm honored to be a part of it. I know Thomas is, I know definitely Jeremy is definitely, you know, happy with it. But Jeremy, I got a question for you. So we're not going to get into too many details about your kill scene, but like, let's walk us through, like, what were the emotions you were feeling when you had your famous kill scene?
Jeremy dies?
Well, it was kind of odd because, you know, it didn't happen till, I don't know, what was it, about the 5th or 6th day of shooting. And I'd been on every day helping and picking up people from airports and just running around and getting supplies. And I was just kind of all over the place, not really even dwelling on the fact that that was coming up. And then the day of the scene, you know, I was the last scene of the day and we could only do it in one take because we were really running out of time. We had like 8 minutes to do the whole thing. And just because of the nature of the scene, I had to do it in one take. There was no like retakes. So between time and just the nature of it, as I was sitting there, I kind of got nervous because I didn't have a lot of direction other than what David was going to do to me and then action. So I just took my 16 years of scaring people and put that, kind of flipped it around to being the victim rather than the perpetrator. And I just went with what I thought it would look like if it was really happening to me. And I think everyone was happy and said that I nailed it. So we'll see how it comes out in final editing, but the raw footage, I think I did exactly what I thought it should be, and I think I did it exactly what Michael thought it should be.
You definitely did a good job.
That was that was epic. Like, I've never seen anything like this before, and just seeing it, I kind of got worried. Like, did this really just happen? Like, is Jeremy okay? You know, because it was intense, and it was just so like, boom, like it felt like that was the moment you were supposed to be in right then and there, and I feel like you killed it 150%. Like, that was the most epic scene I've seen. And I mean, Coach here had his famous scene too. So walk us through that, Coach. Like, how did you feel being slain by David?
Well, you know, my buddy there, Mr. Michael, didn't really key me into what was going on for a while. So I walked into that whole thing thinking that I was going to be the principal of the school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I thought I was going to be the principal of school. So, you know, I packed on about 20 pounds. I didn't work out. And then I find out I'm the coach and I got to wear a tight polo. And I pretty much, you know, I don't want to dive into too much what happened. But the nice thing for me is I kind of got beat up during live shooting for real, which was actually, it helped me out. It actually helped me out, I hope. It made it a little bit more lifelike or believable that whatever happened in the scene I was in was actually happening to me in real life. So I hope it comes off that way. So I'm like, I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk about here. So
yeah, no, we don't want to give away too much detail.
Real quick though, I just want to say one thing about Jeremy's scene. There were a lot of us together when that happened. And Michael, we're talking about like family on set and stuff like that. If you just seen the smiles on everybody's faces when we finished there and how people were cheering and hugging each other, like, I mean, I just felt like it was perfect. Like I was in the right place at the right time with the right people that I'm supposed to be with. And like, we're talking about like making friendships. Like, this is so much farther than that. Like, I want to say this to Michael while I got him right now. Like, what you do is you're trying to find your way in your own life and create this masterpiece that you've been steaming about for 15 years. And we all want to help you do that. But what you don't see is I have a screenplay that I'm all of a sudden jacked about writing again. Travis is writing. Montavious is doing a million different things, including a podcast. Like, Jeremy wants to be the feature horror character in a major motion picture. Like, those are some of the things that you've inspired in all of us, Michael. And it's not just the friendships. I know I spent 6 months trying to pick you up when you felt like you were down, but it was like you were bringing me up. Like, you got me excited about life. You gave me another thing in my life to be pretty damn excited about, not to mention about 15 new amazing friends.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, I love hearing that because besides the finished product, the actual movie itself, the other main reason I'm in this business is to inspire others to do more and bring out their own potential. And to hear that I inspired other people, that's part of my dream coming true as well, not just this movie.
For sure. And you definitely nailed that. I don't know if I've told you, I think I may have told you, I started my whole podcast thing in November of last year. I met you through the campaign in September, and seeing you, live out your dream or have your dream come into fruition. I'm like, it's been my dream just to connect with people and talk horror and like build relationships with people. And so exactly like what Coach said there, you are creating dreams for other people, both of you, Jeremy as well, because without him, who knows where this project would be, so like you guys are at the center of a lot of people's dreams. So kudos to you two for like nudging everybody else to, go forth and do what they were scared to do. But I mean, so that's a job well done to me. And speaking of that, Michael, I know one of your biggest, inspirations were your mom. So like, or is your mom. So kind of walk us through, like, did your mom help you, want to put this project out there?
Yeah. My mom was always supportive of me because I lived in the deep South in northern Mississippi. And I felt kind of stuck there. So after I graduated from high school in 91, I really wanted to come out to California. And nobody thought I was actually going to do it, but my mom always knew I was. She said she knew that I don't say anything. I'm not just talk. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So she encouraged me. And then my dad was kind of quiet about it. And then when it came, I was about to leave and come out here, and my mom changed her mind. She started begging me to stay. And it was my dad who took over, supportive of me. He said, no, you're determined. You said you were going to do this, and you have to go do it. So for years, I tried to make them proud and show them why I came all the way out here and why I left the family, because a lot of them are still bitter towards me for leaving. They because out there it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. Once you move out to a big city, you don't care about them anymore. Mm-hmm. So I had to deal with that for years. So I always wanted to make them proud. And then when I was in music, they were proud. My mom was proud, but she also didn't understand what I was doing, because I was doing really intense metal and screaming and growling. So then when I got into movies, there was something a little more tangible that they could see, and then they started seeing my talent and how I could write. And then it's a funny thing with my mom. My mom died a few years before I started making The Dead Place, and I wish she was here to see this. I wish she was here, because this is like the culmination of everything I've done. I've always wanted a reaction like this. I've always wanted a family to stand behind me like this. I've always wanted a team of artists to come on board of one of my projects and make it special. And I just can't stand that she's not here to see it. But there's something that strange happened with her. She was on her deathbed. I don't talk about this very much, but she was on her deathbed, and it was about 10 years after that had happened in the asylum. And I walked into her hospital room, and she was scared to death. She started sitting up in her bed and covering her face and begging them to tell me to leave. And I was like, why, Mom? What happened? And come to find out, she said that people came to her at the hospital and were showing her on the TV all this stuff that I had murdered all these people. And she said they showed it to her very vividly on the screen, and she started saying all these same things like was being said to me around the table, around the bed that day when I saw those demons. So it's almost like whatever energy was there, I don't know if it came from me, I don't know if it came from some supernatural force or whatever, but something was making her think that I was a killer, and she died thinking that. Like, she even told me, she said, Mike, I know this can't be real. I know what these people showed me is not real. It has to be in my head. But she said it was so real that I can't look at you without being scared. So we never really, when she was on her deathbed, we never really bonded again, because she was scared to death of me.
I mean, I'm sorry to hear that too, the last moments there, but I mean, I think she knows now. I think she's, definitely watching over you and is very proud of what her son is doing,
I think she'll be in the front row watching your movie on premiere night.
For sure. I mean, you did kill a few people, though, in The Dead Place. You did kill.
That's what she was probably seeing, to be honest.
Maybe.
Well, maybe those things, unfortunately, that you had to see helped you to get yourself to a place now where your movie is finally here and ready to go.
Yeah, and I mean, the horrible things like that have happened to me that really devastated me kind of made me the artist that I am. I kind of pull from that intense emotion when I make my movies, because I'm sure you guys could notice while you were there, I put a lot of emotion into my movies, so that the characters have a really strong bond, and you really believe in their struggle. I think that's what I strived for anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so for people who may not know exactly about the Dead Place, when can we get a little glimpse of the official trailer? I know you did release a snippet of a one for Rocky Mountain Nightmares. However, the official trailer is still being worked on currently, I assume.
It's all finished, and we're ready to launch our finishing funds campaign, which is launching 6/6 at 6 p.m.
Nice. I like that. 6/6. Okay.
And I'm actually going tomorrow. Melanie Mayumi, she was on set as the production coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And she's doing the edit. She's actually just taking the footage and basically doing an assembly cut and putting it in order. So I'm going tomorrow to see that for the first time. So I'm really excited about that.
Nice.
666. You're so creative, Pickle.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. So the finishing campaign you talk about on Indiegogo. So for those who want to donate, get those last minute perks, Indiegogo is going to be the place to go for the Dead Place. Now, do you know what kind of perks you're going to have available? Is it going to be some new revived perks or?
I have the list right here, actually. I'll give you some of the new ones that we're going to have. We're going to have a movie still of your choice. You guys have seen all the movie stills signed by me, and it comes with a shout out on social media. We're going to sell those for only $15 plus shipping.
Oh, that's great.
We got signed is a 8x10 glossy copy of signed New Kid artwork. I did artwork based on the New Kid, and also Cricket Weasel, one of the demons in the movie. She also did some artwork. So we're going to make those available. We're going to we have signed glossy prints, and then everyone who buys one of those is going to get entered into a drawing to get the original signed.
Sweet.
So that's going to be $25 plus shipping. We have the poster. You guys have seen the poster. That's going to be revealed in the next couple days. It's already on IMDb. If you guys want to check out IMDb, the poster is up there. But the signed poster is going to go for $33. We're going to keep the Summon the Ladies of the Dead Place, where you can get a personalized video message from any of the ladies like Angel, Susie, or Lexi. We have Dead Place tumblers. We have 4 tumblers signed by David Howard Thornton and myself. Those are going to go for $75. We have the demons in the movie. We have their full faces and their gowns. The gown is going to be $100. The demon face is going to be $150, and you can get the whole ensemble for $200.
Damn.
That's some of the new stuff.
Wildcat will be getting that.
Also, you aspiring makeup artists out there, Robert Bravo offered to do. We did a brain scoop. We're also doing it on this one. We call it Brain Scoop, where a few of us get together, and if you pay for this perk, then we kind of consult you on your, like, tell you what we did to be successful, and consult you and tell you how to make your movie better and successful. So Robert's doing his own version of this. It's called Bravo's Brain Scoop, which is anybody that buys that one for $333, and he walks you through and he gives you basically a tutorial about how he does what he does. And if you saw Jeremy's kill, you're going to want to learn from Robert Bravo.
For sure. Even because I believe he did the special effects in Craving as well.
Yeah.
So if anybody have seen the movie Craving, which is now on Tubi for free, you want this perk.
And the one I'm most excited about is in the movie, David morphs into this demon with a big, long mouth and tongue full of jagged teeth. Well, we have that big prosthetic, the big, long demon mouth. That's going to be available for $777 only on the first week, and then it's going to go up to $1,000. So we're going to offer that for early bird. Ooh. You guys got to. You guys seen it up close. The audience has to see this thing to believe it.
Yeah,
Michael.
This thing is not going to be a part of movie history for sure.
I'll bet you $200 that a certain cast member named Wildcat ends up buying that.
I know, man. But I'll just add it to the museum that I have. So I mean, somebody
that's an awesome perk
for sure. And now will there be I'm hoping for a premiere. Is there a way that if somebody who's a fan of of the Dead Place, is there a way that they can maybe get a ticket to come to the premiere and watch the movie with the cast and crew?
Yeah, that'll be available in one of the perks as well. Like let me see which on that one. Yeah, VIP cast and crew screening. So you get to come to the cast and crew screening and meet everybody and hang out with them, and then come to the after party afterwards. And then we'll personally hand you a signed poster and T-shirt and everything. That's going to be available.
Nice. So for anybody who's listening who wants to come party with the Dead Place, this is the one to get right here. So, gentlemen, I mean, anything you guys, want to talk about the movie? Anything in closing you wish the fans out there to know more about the Dead Place?
You want to start, Jeremy?
Well, I kind of wanted to say something a little further back, but we jumped to the perks, which is great. We need the perks to finish this off. But when Michael talked about his mother kind of being an inspiration, this kind of an emotional thing for me right now. I've been up for 37 hours straight. I'm in my car in a parking lot at a hospital right now. But when we wrapped that day at James' house, I got really emotional, started crying, and Michael was there, and I said, I really wish my mom was here because I think she would have been really proud of me. And so that was emotional because my mother died in 2013. And I got really involved like 2 weeks before we started shooting when Robert's mom it didn't look like she was even going to live. I got really emotionally involved with that, just reliving my own mother's death. And I reached out to Robert during that time. And so in the airport on the way home, I ended up getting bumped back 12 hours on my flight because I overbooked. And Robert was picking his mom up and taking her home that day. So I did a video live shout out to his mom. And about 5 minutes later, she called me on the phone. So that was really emotional. But the reason I've been up for 37 hours and I'm in a parking lot is my dad is in a hospital fight for his life right now. So, but I wanted to do this with you guys. I hope he makes it like Robert's mom made it, but time will tell.
For sure. And we're
prayers
here
for you, Jeremy, and your dad and your family.
Yeah, man.
So I just want to thank you guys because you're kind of like a family to me too. So.
Yes, sir. Yep. No, we're all in this together, man. So if you need anything, you definitely let us know. And Coach, would you like to say anything about the Dead Place in closing?
Yeah. I'll piggyback off of what Jeremy was just saying and Michael as well. And just relate a personal story of my own. When I was only 1 year old and my dad was in his early 30s, he randomly passed away from a heart attack. So I don't even have a memory. Okay. And it's okay. I had a wonderful life, but I just want to let all those people out there know, especially Jeremy and Michael and Robert and everybody else, that you do have beautiful memories of amazing people, and that'll grow with you and live with you forever. And you've had time, and hopefully you get more time, and as much time is allowed. But sometimes it's good to look at things with the glass half full versus the glass half empty. And the same thing kind of applies with this movie with Michael. This has been a crescendo. It's been leading his whole life on up to this point, and it's his time now. It's his cast and his crew, but it's his family's time. And this is what it's all about. Like, everything he's ever done has brought him to this moment, and it's his one moment to shine. And we're all going to rally around and support him, and this is going to be successful. And then from here, who knows? The sky's the limit. The sky's the limit for all of you. So I'm going to play the let's be positive, glass half full, and motivational. And I'll always be that guy that's going to message you for the rest of your life when you're a little bit down and just, you know, tell you to pick yourself up because you're damn good. All of you.
Beautiful. Well said.
Well, I'm truly blessed to have all you on this project. I mean, it really feels like a family, and the emotion that's on display here today, that's nothing new. It's like, it's been like this from the beginning. Like, all of us, we aren't afraid to show our emotion to each other. We aren't afraid to show how much this means to us. And we aren't afraid to show how much we mean to each other. And that means so much to me, because I grew up with my heart on my sleeve. It's very easy for me to cry. I'm a very emotional person. And people always told me that this world would swallow me up and spit me out. And it hasn't yet, because of people like you guys. And I just want to let you know how much that means to me. Like, I just had to tell this quick story on set one day. We were at the school filming, and it was me. I think Montavious was there, and the lighting guy was there, the sound guy were there, and we were talking about our feelings and talking about just very emotional stuff, and we were all just confiding in each other, and Tasha was kind of watching from the outside, and she just looked at us. She said, "I've never seen so many emotional men in one room in my life. I love it." And I think it's just a testament to what has gone into this project. And I think it shows. I think you're going to see that it shows on screen how much emotion and how much feeling of family went into creating this project. And I just love it.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of, you know, blood, sweat, and tears that, you know, you guys put in, and a lot of, you know, family made. So I'm just honored to be a part of it. And come here. Sorry, my son wants to say hello. He's just came.
Hi, what's your
Hello,
name?
bud.
Hi, buddy.
That's director Michael Pickle. That's Jeremy, and then that's Coach, aka Thomas.
The creepy wildcat.
The creep, yeah. No, it says Jeeper Wildcat.
Oh, Jeeper wildcat. Sorry.
But yes, no. Looking forward to the movie, guys. Also for the people who's going to be watching, you know, Facebook group, the Dead Place movie over on Facebook. You know, join the group. Everybody is so interactive there. You can talk to Michael, you can talk to Jeremy, you talk to Mr. Coach himself, and also everybody in between. I know David pops on here and there, so please go join the Facebook group. Indiegogo campaign launching 6/6. Hold on, there was another 6 in there. There was 6/6.
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
So there we go. So no,
I'm a quick learner.
Perks, definitely come over. We'll love to have you guys aboard, a part of the Dead Place family. And guys, anything you guys just want to say in closing for the fans out there for the Dead Place? Anything?
Do you imagine if you took my ruggish good looks and added Michael's beautiful blonde flowing hair? Holy cow. Idris wouldn't have a modeling career.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna be on the cover of a magazine next with Idris. But all right, gentlemen, you guys have a great night, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks so
All right,
much.
thank you.
See you guys.
All right. Take it easy.